Hello, everybody. Welcome to Heart of the Wild, the podcast where we explore the wonders of wildlife, the beauty of animal behavior, and all of the amazing people devoted to protecting our planet's extraordinary creatures. Today, I am very excited to welcome a truly incredible person, guest, and a really amazing story. I have spoken with Lauren for quite a bit of time now, and she's a fellow American who moved from North Dakota to South Africa after volunteering her time with big cats. I will let her tell the story because truly, I've not heard anything so compelling before. So I'm really excited to get into it. But just to give you a little bit of background, Lauren is the co-creator and co-manager of the Simbonga Big Cat Reserve and Sanctuary. It's in the Eastern Cape of South Africa. And not only are they working to raise awareness of the plight of big cats in captivity, but they have saved countless lives of various big cats. And also, if you go to her Instagram, you'll see that she's saving bats from what I can see. So we might talk a little bit more about that too. But the story of how this got started is incredible. So I can't wait for Lauren to share more about that. And without further ado, hello, Lauren.
Hi, this is so exciting. It really is exciting.
It's exciting. And did I say Lauren Vaude? I'm so sorry if I mispronounced.
No, you got it.
Okay,
you
great.
got it. It's perfect.
Love it. Okay. Well, Lauren, let's kick things off. Let's just go right into it. Can you just tell everyone a little bit about how you got involved in starting Simbonga to just begin with?
Yeah. So, I mean, the baseline, to keep it simple, I came to South Africa as like a young, fresh out of university student. I was drawn to big cats like so many people are. I thought I was volunteering at an ethical facility. Turned out that wasn't really the case. And then I moved here and I met my now partner and we were working together. But really, we saw the bad side of the big cat industry because that's what it is. And eventually, it was in late 2018 that there was an organization that was rescuing lions in really compromised spaces, and they happened to relocate them to a nearby reserve to where we were living. And that's where everything kind of started. We made contact. We said, okay, you're doing these rescues. This is amazing. Have you thought about a sanctuary? Because where are you going to put these animals? Eventually, you need homes. And then it was through collaborative efforts, between us and then our colleague with the organization. Warriors of Wildlife is the name of the organization, which is nonprofit based. And then we all established Simbonga to offer these animals a lifelong home, offer them a place to just live and be and do what they're supposed to do, be big cats. I don't know. I hope that.
Yeah, thank God for you. You said that you saw a little bit about the bad side of, the sort of big cat world. You were going to volunteer because you wanted to help big cats and you were drawn to them. Can you talk a little bit about, we want to stay positive on Heart of the Wild, but this is the reality, but this is, and also how you ended up doing something really good out of this. So there was a positive, but can you just talk a little bit about what that even was and how you ended up realizing that there was a need for Simbonga?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, that is it. Like, this podcast is so amazing because it's always focused on the good because there's so much good going on in the world. But the reason we see the good is because there is unfortunately bad, right? And unfortunately, with big cats, people are really drawn to them. I mean, myself included. And unfortunately, it is very easy to exploit big cats and other animals for profit. And that's exactly what was happening. When I initially signed up to volunteer at this other place, it was promoted as this amazing place. Come and help us. These animals are abandoned. They need help. We need extra hands on deck. It's really time-consuming work. And one day they'll go back to the wild. And the reality behind it was that none of those animals were going back to the wild. And the facility was basically taking our money as volunteers and pocketing it. It was a great way to make big bucks. And the first time I did it, I didn't know any different. And I loved it so much, I went back the second time. And when I returned, that's when I realized things didn't really seem right. And when I started asking questions, my questions were never really fully answered. And so that was enough to get the wheels turning. And then I realized that this is happening everywhere. South Africa just happened to be kind of a hub for it because of course lions are here. So it's an easy way to kind of pass off the story as something glamorous. One day these animals will be wild and free, when really that's not happening.
And where are they going if they're not being, let back out into the wild? What do they do in terms of exploitation?
A lot of these animals, I mean, the exploitation starts from the get-go. They're bred in captivity. The cubs are taken away from the mothers, because then people like me years and years ago will pay money to volunteer to raise these cubs, thinking that they're abandoned and they need help. And then when the cubs get too big and boisterous and maybe they're becoming dangerous, they either go back into the breeding cycle, or unfortunately, a lot of them are sold to places that are not considering animal welfare. And a lot of those places are unfortunately hunting them. So it's an animal essentially being bred to be killed, being bred to be, shot by a hunter that also believes it's a wild animal, when it was, some college kid that raised it out of love and compassion, and now it's being shot by someone else. And it's an ugly cycle. It's a really ugly cycle. And again, it's not just here in South Africa. This kind of stuff is happening everywhere. And so the whole thing is once you have to do better. Once you learn, it's your job to do better, which is how we ended up here.
Yeah, I can hear the lions behind you. I hope people just so you know, Lauren, I don't want to go off at this point, by the way. We will get back to this, but Lauren is literally in the middle of the reserve right now, and there are lions all around her, and so I can hear them right now.
I'm glad you can hear them.
Yeah, hopefully we'll hear more of them throughout the episode. God, it honestly, my eye is twitching, like hearing about just the exploitation and the horrific sort of way in which people can be so cruel. And I know we've talked a little bit about this in the past, just in terms of breeding an animal with a trust factor, because in past episodes, I know listeners will have heard Tristan and I talking about the fact that once a big cat is reared with a human, that's it. They can't go back into the wild. And it's mainly because then they rely on that human. And so to your point of saying, like, if you're, volunteering and you've got this big heart and all this compassion and trying to help an animal, if they're going into, a canned hunting farm or something like that, they're going to be trusting of humans naturally. So it's a really horrific thing when you think about it. And to have someone such as yourself with a big heart working to do better, working to make it right, working to help, is, to me, feels like the best case scenario out of this situation. And again, we always look for the positives here, because what can you do, right? You have to look at the people, and there's tons of them that are looking to do more and to be right in the world and help animals. And there's so many people that care and are helping. So with all that, I wonder how it came to be that you formed Simbonga, and what was the focus on big cats? Was it simply because of that experience and you felt like this has to happen? This experience taught me that we can make a difference with big cats specifically, or was it because of your connection with big cats from the get-go? Was it a combination?
Definitely a combination. In terms of long-term care, that's where, my partner and I that are on site at the sanctuary all the time, that is our knowledge base. We both started in this industry, it started with big cats. That was like the entry point. And at this stage, we've both chosen to stay within the industry, just doing it very differently. It's walking away was never an option. It was, how can we do better? And the great part about our nonprofit organization, so it was founded by not us at all, by completely different people that started strictly rescue and relocation of animals. And it started by a guy that was living, he's from the same region, and he was living in Ukraine, which is how we have a lot of Ukraine rescues. And he started seeing even things like bears in distress. And so he started doing operations with bears. But now bears don't make sense in Africa. It is not a species appropriate space. And so Lionel is his name. When he was doing bear relocations, keeping them throughout Europe, that's more appropriate for them. The environment alone is such a huge piece of the puzzle. Like, being in the right space makes the world of a difference. And then when he had done his first lion rescue here to a nearby reserve, that's when we just kind of went light bulb. This is what we know. We didn't really know the rescue side of it per se, but we knew how to look after them and look after them in a healthy, positive way. And so we're like, this does line up perfectly with the organization doing rescue operations. We can then offer and establish a lifelong home. And then it's just a branch off of everything. And I think the lions specifically, that was just our knowledge base. It's our specialty. And it just made sense. The need for it is astronomical. And again, it's global. It's not just here in South Africa, or, we're both from the US. There's stuff happening with big cats all the time in US states. There's in the Middle East. It's literally everywhere. And it's not just big cats either, but that's definitely our knowledge. And the need was there. It's still there.
I mean, you talk about the US and I think about Tiger King. Like that was, that was a huge show in the US. And it just, horrified me, frankly, just my God. It kind of glorified what you're talking about.
Well, that's exactly what it is. And oftentimes, so we offer educational tours at the facility, at the sanctuary, and I'm the one that's usually doing the tours. And like immediately people hear American, and then they're like, "Oh, Tiger King." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I know." But it's true. It's what's happening. It's what's happening everywhere, because people are naturally, most people, I'm not going to say everyone, but most people were naturally drawn to wild animals. And I've never met a single person that's looked at a lion or a tiger and said, "Oh my gosh, that's the ugliest thing I've ever seen." They're majestic. It's so easy to be drawn to them. And because it's so easy to be drawn to them, it's also so easy to manipulate that.
Mm-hmm. I know. And people are intrinsically selfish. So if they want to engage, I think that is where it gets a bit dicey in terms of what's right and what someone wants to do. But kind of going back to your work, at Simbonga, what is a typical day like? I mean, you're working every day with these majestic animals. So how does that work, and how do you accomplish your tasks?
Yeah, so it's definitely not glamorous. I think a lot of people see big cats that look all majestic and they're like, "Wow, it's the most glamorous job in the world." It's messy, it's dirty, it's about as real as it gets. The only thing that I can promise you happens every single day is that we start the day and finish the day by checking the cats, making sure that everybody's happy, healthy, where they're supposed to be. They've got fresh water and their fencing is up to par. Safety always has to be a concern. They are predators. And everything that happens in the middle just depends. Of course, there's the feeding and the cleaning and the general maintenance. We are by far professional poo scoopers at this stage in our lives.
I feel that way with my dog. So like, I can't even imagine how you feel with so many different lions and things under your care.
But it is, one of the things that we really focus on is trying to educate people. And so we do offer those guided tours. We're coming out of kind of our busiest time of year, being South African summer holidays. So we've just been having tour after tour after tour. We only do 2 a day, but that fills up quickly. It gets pretty lengthy in between everything else. In terms of with the cats themselves, so much of what we do, and I think it kind of becomes natural once you're in this environment, is you're literally observing all the time. And as much as we're observing them, they're also observing us. And it's getting to know each other. It's seeing what they like, what they don't like. When we get new volunteers that come in, we're training the volunteers. And the one thing I say, I'm like, you will get out of this what you put in. So if you spend time with the animals and observe them and watch them, they're doing the same to you. They're equally interested in you. And that just offers you the chance to understand them on a different level. And that's kind of the baseline of what every day looks like. Because when we're cleaning, we're observing. When we're fixing a fence, we're observing. When we're doing a tour, I might notice that one maybe isn't having a good day, doesn't feel like the group that's here, so we move a little faster. Or just watching them and learning from them. We're learning all the time from them. Every day they do something different. I'm like, when did you decide you liked that? When did that happen? And it's
what
fun.
kind of behavior is that? Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I just am so interested. No. Like, what is that? And also, if they don't like a group, do they have the kind of behavioral instincts that I would think of with a domestic animal, where they trust someone implicitly?
Yeah, absolutely. So trust with the big cats obviously looks a little bit different. Like, I want to be very careful how I say this so people don't think they can just like get a lion to trust them and keep it in their backyard. you know, yeah, disclaimer. The thing is that when the animals are comfortable, instead of like, snuggling you, like your house cat might come and lay on your chest and purr, a lot of times what we see is them being calm. So if they're calm, if they're in relaxed positions, if they're not even worried about you, they're just kind of like, oh, you're here. And they just kind of carry on about their business. Maybe they're grooming, maybe they're watching the neighbor because gossip hour is hilarious. What's the neighbor doing? If they're calm with you, if they're calm with a group, if they're calm, then you know that you're kind of sitting on a level ground. And if they're not calm, it's just like your house cats. If they flick their tail, maybe they're getting irritable and they're letting you know. Maybe their ears are twitching or moving or they're falling flat. Obviously, vocalizing in different ways can be very obvious. But a lot of times, the observations are so simple if you just think about it simple. If they're calm, they're comfortable, they're happy. If you're seeing any agitations, you know you've got to start looking at different things. You need to be paying attention.
Do you think they're agitated right now? And I hope it's okay for me to say that there are some fires happening around your area right now. So there's a bit of stress in the environment at the moment. And I can hear, I've spoken with you before on the phone. And so I have not heard them be this vocal before.
Yeah,
So
they're
do you think
chatty
that's
Cathy
coming
right
into
now.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of it, like at the moment, yeah, unfortunately, summer season for us in the coastal area is fire season. It's always a stressor. And we do literally, like right now, when you and I got on the Zoom call, I'm like, I'm so sorry, the connection, we've got fires in the area and it's a problem. I can't even see across the valley all the way like I normally can see because there's so much smoke. And that definitely, the cats know that, like their instincts are there and they know something is off. And of course, something like fire is a natural thing, right? So they instinctually know this is dangerous. In terms of vocalizing, I always say they're full of gossip hours. So we had tours today. They're talking about who was here, how many kids, which one had the sparkly tutu on that was blowing in the wind. And it's getting to be a little bit more of their active time. Like the time of day that we're chatting is a little bit more of their active time as well. But they are vocalizing a lot. And I tend to think that that's definitely in correlation to what's happening around us with the weather. They're very aware of what's going on and they're very hypersensitive to things like that. They probably could sense it before we even could smell the smoke, if I'm honest.
I mean, animals are incredible that way. I love animals for so many reasons, but I think that their instincts, I truly believe that animals are such good judges of character. So, like, if you've got tourists coming through and the cat's tails are flicking up and their ears are going back, it's like maybe they should move along a little sooner.
It's exactly that. Like, I know you've got a dog. Dogs are the best judge of characters in the world. If your dog doesn't like somebody, you should probably be like, wow, it was nice to meet you. See you never.
That's like every boyfriend that I've had so far. So she's like, no, they need to go. We don't like them. And I listen to that. I truly do. I'm like, they're not the right ones because Eloise doesn't approve.
Critic, but you know what? It gets the job done, doesn't it?
Yeah, and she's right. So I really do believe that dogs are the best judge of character.
I'm telling, it's so true.
Oh, I love that. I wonder if you believe that this is your life's work. Is that, I mean, everyone talks about their passions and what they're meant to do on this earth. And I think for a lot of people listening, there's a lot, I know there's a lot of people listening in their 20s and 30s, right? And that's such a critical time to find your passion. And you chased your passion and then you naturally fell into this incredible work. Do you think this is your life's work, or do you think that more will come of this, or you'll extend it further? Sort of, what do you think about all of that?
It's such a tough question because if you would have asked me, 15 years ago, are you going to live in Africa? I'd be like, oh, in my wildest dreams. I would have never thought it was realistic, right? And then it happened. So I guess it's all about manifesting what your goals are, right? I do think that this is exactly where I'm supposed to be, and it's exactly what I'm supposed to be doing right now. I think that this happened in such a natural way and such a holistic approach of following what felt right in my heart. Logic tells me it's maybe not the best for retirement, but that's okay. It is a passion project. So, like you said, like people, sometimes I think we forget to follow our hearts a little bit. You know, we get stuck in the chaos of the day to day and what's expected. In this instance, I do think this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. I do hope that it does expand. I hope that this isn't the only part of it. You know, what we do is really, it's amazing and I love it. One of the challenges, though, is the more you do this work, sometimes the more you see how, at the end of the day, these animals never should have been behind a fence in the first place. And at the hands of humans, that's what's happened. So the best we can do is give them the best quality of life possible. But I would love to see things also shift to, you know, not only this, but in addition, more of a conservation standpoint as well, and helping the wild animal population too, and getting those ecosystems back up and running as well. So I hope there's opportunity for expansion, and learning is so fun. Like if you've stopped learning, like I've met people, they're like, oh, I've learned everything. I'm like, wow, you just lost at life. Like there's so much to learn. And I hope that this is now, you know, even since we started this, we've learned so much about not only the animals, but about ourselves and about the world. And I hope that that carries on, if that is clear. You know, I hope that there is more to it. I just don't know exactly what more looks like, I guess.
That's very clear. And there to talk about the conservation aspect of it seems so plausible, especially with the moment that we're in. And it is heartbreaking to feel like these animals, you know, were dealt, you know, not the right sort of hand. But I've been hearing a lot more about kind of like this critical moment that we're at in terms of wildlife restoration, climate change, all of these different sort of pillars of wildlife restoration, wildlife conservation, and essentially the ever consistent message is, if we're not doing something about it, then who's going to? And also, where does that leave us? We are dead in the water. This is it for us. And so, I mean, thank God that you're doing the work that you're doing. And absolutely, I think there's such an incredible opportunity ahead of you. I'm so excited to see what happens with it, because I know that that's going to be amazing.
Well, at this point, we just need to get you back on a plane to South Africa so you can see it in real time.
I mean, you basically asked my next question, because I want to know, like, how can someone volunteer with Simbonga? I would love to come and volunteer. That to me would be a dream scenario. And I imagine there are other people listening right now that would love to get involved and volunteer. And a second piece to that is the reason why we wanted to talk to you and have you sort of speak about, have you speak a bit more about the work that you're doing, is because there are inherently good sanctuaries doing good work. But then, as you said, there are bad sanctuaries that are marketing the work that they're doing and then doing bad work. So I think, firstly, can you tell us how to tell the difference between that? And then secondly, can you tell us how we can get involved with Simbonga and how I can come on a plane and come and see you?
Well, it's great. There's flights that'll bring you straight to Joburg and then into PE.
Perfect.
Yeah. So in terms of it, that's the challenge. That's the trap that I fell into years ago. Was I didn't have the knowledge of what to look out for, and you don't know until you know, right? And then you just kind of sit there and you feel badly. I don't want anyone to listen to this and say, oh my gosh, I took a selfie with a tiger in Thailand and now I feel terrible, or I rode an elephant when I was 15 and I feel bad. Like, you don't know until you know, right? But in terms of tourism and voluntourism and ethical tourism, you know, like your choices as a tourist in whatever way that tourist positions you in, like, that matters. And if you see something that doesn't really feel right, it's absolutely your right to ask questions. And if people don't answer your questions with clarity, that's already your red flag, right? But first and foremost, if any wildlife center, or, you know, sanctuary is such a tough one because sanctuary is a really broad term that's used very loosely throughout the world. But if any wildlife center is allowing you, first and foremost, if they're breeding animals they should have a very clear path as to how they do a release after. If they don't have a clear path for that, it should be a huge red flag. Like for us, we do not breed. There is no reason for us to breed more lions in captivity. They don't need to be here. We need more in the wild. And if they allow any general public tourist member, any member of the general public at all, to touch and play with a wild animal, that is your biggest red flag. So if there are babies that are being bred all the time, and if they're allowing you to play with them, not just babies, even adults, but if you're allowed to physically touch a wild animal as a general public person, it should be a red flag that there is maybe not the best ethics behind the facility. Things like buying and selling as well. If they're selling them, how can they guarantee that they're going to have a happy life? How can they guarantee that the new owners are going to look after them? If the animals are in any way, shape, or form being used as a transaction, that's when you know that you should be really, really mindful. And again, sometimes you end up in these places and everything is beautiful and promoted wonderfully. And then you get there and you go, oh my gosh, what am I doing? Now you know. Now you know, so don't support it. It's also your choice to know when not to engage, right? So you end up at a place and they say, hey, play with the lion cubs. And you had no idea there would be lion cubs there. You were seeing all the other wildlife and enclosures. It is your choice to say, actually, I don't want to. Thank you very much. And hopefully that's enough to make, the people at those facilities go, oh, what's wrong with them? Make them question it, because it isn't okay. No baby, no animal, wild animals playing with people is just not natural.
I love those detailed, tangible things to look for. And one of the things, before I got more in depth in terms of re-educating, as you said, like learning throughout life is just the best sort of way to enrich yourself, I think, and be fulfilled. As I started learning and relearning more about animals, all I kept seeing was people going to Thailand and washing elephants, petting elephants, riding elephants. And I think your point of not touching an animal is so salient. Like, that to me signals that is stressful for the animal. And I still see to this day friends going to Thailand and riding elephants, and then a lot of them will say, oh, we're just washing them. They allow us, it's good for them. They love it. I'm like, I don't actually think that's the case. And even that piece of it, I think, would be so insightful and helpful to so many people who are thinking they're doing great work, and helping, when in reality, it's actually incredibly harmful to the animals.
It is. I mean, I say oftentimes when I do educational tours at the facility, at the end of the day, and this, I'm focusing on like a baby because cub interaction is very popular with the lion specifically. But now, if you can imagine that a human has a baby, and I take your baby away from you and I pass it around to a different stranger every 5 minutes. If you give me money, I will give you the baby for 5 minutes to play with. And it's now passed around from person to person to person to person. Oh, that's weird. You wouldn't do that. You wouldn't do that with a human baby. Well, we shouldn't. And so why are we doing it with an animal, And it's the same thing. Elephants know how to give themselves a bath. They like to play in the water. So stand there and observe them and watch them enjoy playing in the water. You don't need to do it for them. They know how. It's fun for them all by themselves.
Oh, yeah. I'm thinking about passing around a baby, though. Like, some of my friends who have recently had babies would die if people touch their baby. They want you to use, and fair enough, like, with, all the different germs around. So could you imagine? And I'm not trying to like humanize an animal, but like, could you imagine? Like, people just would lose their minds.
That's exactly it. I mean, I tell people all the time, that's anthropomorphizing. Like, don't give animals human characteristics and what have you, and vice versa. But that's how people connect, right? Make it relatable. It's the same thing when I do a tour. I'm like, you guys that are coming here to learn and meet our animals, meet in a safe way, you are the visitor. If they're sleeping, I don't want to hear cat calls. No, pss, 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 and whistling. Imagine you're sleeping at your house and 20 strangers come looking in your window making noises. It's weird.
It's weird.
It,
It's rude. Have some manners.
Yeah, and it's the same thing. I mean, you go on safari. If you're on a safari vehicle, you know, your guide typically will tell you, guys, we have to be really quiet. If you're on like a walking tour, they'll say no talking while walking. We need to be observant. We need to be listening. We need to be smelling for safety, but also because we are the visitor, right? We're the visitor and respect it. Like just remember if you wouldn't like it, they wouldn't like it probably. And just let them do what they're doing. Let them be who they're supposed to be, and just appreciate it in a safe way, in a safe distance, in a safe capacity. You can still observe them, you can still be with them, but we can do it in a safe way for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. And for someone coming to potentially volunteer, what would that look like? What would the work look like? What would a day in the life look like? How would that I imagine there's a lot of poop scooping, which fair enough. Like that's what they need. That's what the lions need. And there's a tiger. Yeah, there's a tiger at your
We
sanctuary.
do have, yeah, we've got one tiger. She's so sweet. Her name is Gina. She's usually the one that everybody, their hearts just like drop out of their chest when they see her because she's so vocal and sweet. But physically, she represents a very good visual of the types of conditions they come from. She's very small in stature. She struggles with her mobility. She's missing her tail, all sorts of things. Yeah, she's had a hard time. But in terms of, oh, the lions are going again.
I can hear them so clearly. I really hope for everyone listening that if you can hear in the background, you might not have been sure what the noise is. They are the lions roaring loudly.
Aslan is the one making noise now. He's maybe about like 150 meters away from me and he's just yapping away. Um,
That is the coolest thing ever.
yeah, well, that's what you get to do as a volunteer. You get to hang out with them when they're chit chatting. It is a lot of maintenance, so like a lot of cleaning. You know, things like the tiger's pool. Tigers love to swim, so she has a pool. She's very lucky. That's probably the most humbling volunteer experience because she loves to make a mess. She likes to wee in her pool. She likes to poo in her pool. She likes to put her meat in her pool.
Are you
It's a
in the pool? Are you swimming in the
in
pool?
in the pool. So the tiger's got like a splash pool for herself, and she literally puts everything in it.
So do you go in the pool and take those things out?
Yeah. So you got to, well, we use buckets, and in theory, you should have gloves on, and you are taking the water out and you're scrubbing and sanitizing and refilling it with fresh water and
I mean,
really enjoying.
I think that sounds very cool. Like that sounds very, when else are you ever going to do that? When else are you ever going to have that chance?
Yeah. When it's for a tiger, it makes it all the better. You just have to like block your nose so you don't know what it is that you're doing. Um, but yeah, it can be anything. We're really fortunate that the sanctuary, like Simbonga as its own, is a little reserve. So we've also got a lot of free roaming animals like giraffe, zebra, kudu, inyala, like lots of antelope and stuff. And so volunteers might be helping us to remove plants off the reserve that are invasive because we need the good, healthy plants for the free roaming animals. Um, Obviously, with the big cats, that's the main focus. Enrichment, you know, creating enrichment for them, feeding, any fence maintenance. Every single one of our sanctuary enclosures, volunteers have literally helped us build. So in the event that we're building, like you are also building. So here's a shovel. It's really fun. But it's anything that we're doing, you are stuck doing with us. It's that simple. And it could be literally anything. At the moment, we're monitoring fires. So if volunteers are here, they're briefed on how to be safe. And if they see something, to speak up. And if that's what we need to do, that's what we need to do.
It's volunteering. That's the name of the game. You are there to help. You are there to support the animals in the reserve.
And the best part is like a lot of people, the first like few days that you're here, you're kind of just trying to like figure out your bearing, like where am I, what's going on, like where am I supposed to be. And then it's always fun, like for me as the person that's like introducing everybody to the animals, it's so fun to watch because after the first few days, I can already start to see like, oh, Diana really likes Kaya the lioness. Like I can see that you're gravitating towards that animal more. And it's interesting because just like we all pick friends differently, or we get along with, you know, people or dogs or cats differently, it's the same thing with the lions. And it's always so impressive because there's a few of the animals that are really charismatic and like easy to get to know. And then there's a few that are a little bit more recluse, like a little bit more like kind of keep to themselves. And then you see these volunteers start to connect with those animals. And then it's bigger than just us. You know what I mean? Like it's healing in its own way. You know, the animals come here to heal, but I think for the people here too, it's its own version of finding level ground. And yeah, it's hard work. I mean, it's really manual and it's hot and it's wet and it's slimy and gross, but you're doing it for the animals, right? And I always say like your job, your quality of your job is going to give them their quality of life. So if you love them, then poo scooping is like a walk in the park. It's a piece of cake.
Well, I think you're in it every day, right? Like this is your day-to-day life. And one thing that I found being in South Africa is how you mentioned healing, how healing and incredible and just transformative it is to just be around animals in nature with a bit of a cutoff from our everyday life, which just looks so different, so fast paced. So, you know, I think everyone listening probably has a different set of circumstances in terms of what their day-to-day lives look like. But for the most part, I think a lot of people don't have the opportunity that you have to work so in such close proximity to whether it's big cats or giraffes or, you know, other free roaming animals in your reserve. And it truly is transformative to just be in their presence, whether you're doing the hard work or not. So I think that piece is probably something that you might not even realize just living that life that a volunteer is just like so awestruck from just from being there. Do you know what I mean?
Well, and that's like I visited, I went back to the States like almost a year ago to visit my mom. And I actually found like people are like, don't the lions keep you awake all night? I'm like, no, they put me to sleep. Like we barely hear them. Once we fall asleep, we fall asleep. But then like being in her house, because we also we live in like a glamping style tent. So you hear everything. Being in my mom's house, I'm like, why is it so silent? Like I had a harder time falling asleep in silence than the sounds of nature. And that's when I realized I was like, whoa, we are living literally a wild life. Like and so many people don't know that. And so like I hope people get the chance in some capacity. And it doesn't necessarily have to be Africa, right? Like if you live in the UK or in the US or whatever, like there is nature around you, but finding that little bit of nature, it is amazing how grounding it becomes. It can be 15 minutes with your feet on the grass. Well, it's winter for you now. You don't want to do that.
No. I'll have my feet in slippers on the
Yeah.
carpet.
You know what I mean, though?
I
Like,
totally get it. That is my
yeah,
favorite thing to do when it's warm out is put my feet in the grass. I
that's
absolutely agree.
so simple, you know, and it's the sunshine. I'm just giving you all the bad examples. You're in the UK. It's always cloudy. Um,
we
it's
we do get some sun. I think we're known for not having sun, but we do have some sun.
well, yeah, but it is though. It's that simple. Like it can be. Look, Africa's different. I don't care who you are. Once you come to Africa and the Africa bug bites, like that's it. Good luck. You'll never be the same again. Um, and I say that with all the optimism in the world. Everybody hopefully will get a chance to experience it in some way. But it's just about nature as well, and immersing yourself in that. And when we get people that get to come here and see what our day to day is, it kind of gives you that little bit of hope too as to why this work is necessary. It's more than just us, and it's more than just these cats. It's so much more than that. It's a lot more than that.
That is a perfect place to end, Lauren. We're about at time, and this was such an inspirational discussion, and just I think and hope that everyone listening is so inspired by your story, even if you don't have the capacity to do the work that you're doing, and you meaning like anyone listening. I hope that it inspires people to take action in their own ways, however they can, whether it's going to Simbonga and volunteering, which is certainly an option, or if it is taking action in your local community in ways that you can help with any kind of, wildlife restoration or animals that you're passionate in and doing volunteer work with those. So it just shows in such a tangible way that one person can make a huge difference. And so I'm just so in awe of you for doing that. And I just wanted to say, I'm going rogue here, Lauren. We tried we have our segment. If you're a longtime listener, you know that we've got our segment where we try to guess animal noises. Due to some technical difficulties, we are unable to do that. However, I'm going to try to have Lauren guess an animal noise based on, I'm literally going so rogue here, based on like clues that I'm going to give you. Let's see if we can do it. Why not? We can't play the noise, but we're going to just go through. Okay. So the animal that I was going to have you guess, Lauren, has a few sounds that they make that have unique situations. And for everybody that is listening that might not have heard this before, we typically do a segment at the end of every show where I have my guests guess an animal noise. And in this instance, Lauren, this animal makes a series of chirps, purrs, howls, hisses, and meows.
Okay.
So that might give you a hint.
It's one of two big cats.
Okay.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is it African or is it more North and South American?
It is African.
I'm gonna go ahead and say straight away that it's a cheetah.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yes.
Oh, good. We didn't even need the noise. You'll have to somehow edit it in there so they can hear the noise. Cheetah make weird noises, you guys. They're so different than the rest of the big cats. I say this nicely, they're so weird. They're so cool, but they're so weird. Like, how do those cute little noises come out of such a big creature?
Well, I thought that noise would be really fun because I didn't want to be too obvious with a lion or a tiger because you know those, but I did want to keep it in the big cat family. And I thought that the cheetah sounds were so cool. The weird
Yeah,
hissing sound. What is that? But that's cool.
it's wild. The only reason I asked, you must, and now I don't want to like give someone else away. If you like do an interview with someone in the States or in Canada or South America, even, who knows where the podcast is going to go. This is amazing. But just look up mountain lion noises. Like mountain lions, also called pumas, mountain screamers. That's why I said, I was like, is it African or is it American? Because their noises are equally, your mind will be blown. And I think your listeners would be like, I'm sorry, what is that?
Okay, everyone look up mountain lions. But as we wrap this up, Lauren, thank you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for your inspiring discussions and anecdotes and details, helping us navigate what constitutes a good and bad sanctuary. We will leave details for everyone listening as to how you can get involved with Simbonga, how you can support Simbonga, volunteer. As I said, and I truly mean this, I'm not just saying this, going to volunteer with Lauren is something that is on my life bucket list. I want nothing more than to go and help do some work alongside and support the incredible work that they're doing. And as I always say, let the heart of the wild inspire not just awe, but action. Lauren, any final words from you?
No, the lions are going. They're doing it for us. I hope that people can hear it. That's all. I just really thank you so much. This has been, as my first podcast, I'm so happy. What a cool thing. And I just really appreciate what you guys are doing. You guys are really shining a light on things where people can do good. We can do good and we can make the world better.
Thank you for that. See everybody soon. Thanks again. Bye.